Until the meeting, and then I have to use it for the projector. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, really?
You kind of.
Check. Chris, can you give me some juice? Good evening, everybody. We're going to get started here in just a minute. We're just trying to get situated here. There are, if you'd like to speak during that portion, there are cards set out. Intent to speak forms that we will accept, and we'll be right back here in a sec. Ready? Good, Chris. All right, we'll go ahead and get started in the interest of time here. So good evening, welcome to you all. I'd like to just take a moment to, I assume you've seen the agenda, just like to outline the plan for tonight. First, the board is going to hear an update from Superintendent Barry and his team regarding the location of the ODP program and the status of preschool offerings within the district. Next, the board will open it to public comments, and we do have forms if you'd like to speak. And if you would like to speak and you haven't filled one out, that's okay too. We'll just call you up and you'll just state your name. So we will open for public comments. That'll follow a similar format to our regular board meetings with a 3-minute time limit per speaker, but for up to 50 minutes instead of 30. And similar to our regular public meeting comment session, the board's role during that time will be to listen. However, board members, if you do need clarification on something you hear, it's okay to ask for that. I do just want to make sure we have enough time for everyone to speak and follow the 3-minute time limit. And then finally, the board will have some time at the end to reflect on what we hear tonight and discuss any pertinent next steps, if any. I hope that tonight brings some clarity, some transparency about all that has transpired so far. I hope we can learn from this experience and use it for good moving forward. So, Superintendent Barry.
Thank you, Chair Campbell. Tonight, I'll share a little bit about
how we got here, and then I've asked Tiffany and Kelly to share a little bit of information with the board and the audience as well. Tiffany, I've asked to clarify some public school options, so we can all understand in the vocabulary what that means. And then Kelly will share about with the board on the need for preschool in the area and some information on some funding sources. I first want to be clear, it was never the intention of having ODP existence in jeopardy based on moving classrooms. I've known many of you for a long time, worked with many of you, and that was never the intention. I believe ODP's strength is the multi-level classroom, the model, the students and family, the teachers who are dedicated to the program. Yes, physical space is a part of that. And it was never the intention of to move ODP into physical space that wasn't able to be a function of ODP. Just wanted to make that clear, first and foremost. Let's see. I think I'll start over the course of this year. We had a number of meetings with staff and PAC members about topics such as strategic planning, safety and security, and funding sources for field trips and programs. Our team has also been in discussion for years on the lack of preschool options for families in our district. When opportunities were presented this year and in response to concerns from staff and parents and reality of preschool providers anxious to expand or partner with us, we started thinking about how we can maximize resources and space for the good of the whole district. This started a chain of discussions, emails, meetings about what it meant for programs and partners. This is where I will own the breakdown in communication and take responsibility for not informing ODP parents and meeting with them to share our thinking and get their thoughts. Between the teachers and Principal Lowe and our team at the district office, we'll commit to better communication in that regard. With that, we know what has transpired over the last few weeks. There's been a lot of anger, frustration, hurt, and quite frankly, some sadness. I know we can get through this. We are the same people we were last month, last year, last several years, where families and supporting one another and communication are valued. Then the next steps were there were developments last week that presented itself that allowed us to look at other possibilities moving forward as it relates to ODP and preschool on our campus. Ivy School notified us that they will no longer be able to serve as a preschool provider at TES. And though we were sad, we understood. This prompted a call to Ashland YMCA to share the latest developments and asked if they would consider occupying the space that Ivy School was in. Their team worked together, got together, and said that would work and immediately switched to licensing that space last week. That put summer preschool in jeopardy. And so that won't happen on our campus this year, but they will be moving into that Ivy School space that Ivy School was. This cooperation was welcomed and thankful YMCA's flexibility and their ultimate goal of being a part of expanding preschool options and talent, which we know we lack many preschool options. The news of ODP staying in their current space was shared with families via video message on Thursday evening, and an in-person meeting was scheduled for Monday after school to answer any questions. And I understand ODP leadership had to cancel that in-person meeting, but I'm happy to reschedule as well. Also want to reiterate on my phone or setting up a meeting is welcomed at any time as well. Now want to turn it over to Tiffany, who will share a little bit about public school options and what that means for the state of Oregon.
Thank you. I'm Tiffany Lambert. I'm Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning. Thank you, Board. There have been some public schooling option terminology just used differently, and I thought I could take an opportunity to explain the different public schooling options available in the state of Oregon, just so we all have similar vocabulary and we're talking about the same thing. So the first is a charter school. A charter school is a public school operated by a group of parents, teachers, and or community members, and as a semi-autonomous school that operates under a contract or a charter for charter schools with a sponsoring school district. A charter school, however, is a separate legal entity that operates under that binding agreement with their sponsor. It is a public school. So in our district, our sponsored charter school is Armadillo Community Charter School. Being a public school, We are still responsible for providing things like special education, English language development services, nursing services to make sure that all students have access to a charter school. Also used is alternative schools or alternative programs. We do have an alternative program in our school. Some school districts have separate schools that are alternative schools, such as in Eagle Point, there's the Upper Rogue Center for Educational Opportunities. That's a separate school. Ours is Compass program, and that's a program within Phoenix High School. So an alternative program or school, they're often described as programs that are for the most at-risk students, used for dropout prevention or credit retrieval. Oregon law defines alternative education as a school or a class group designed to best serve students' interests and meet the academic standards of the district. Again, Compass students are still considered Phoenix High School students. We do have some Talent Middle School students in Compass as well. But I do want to point out that when a student is in an alternative program, for us, they are identified as such with the state. So we do have certain programs that we report on separately, even though their test scores and their graduation rates are still part of Phoenix High School. They are in the state information system labeled as being part of the program. So different programs like special education, talented and gifted education, alternative education, and English language learners, they're in an identifiable program with the state. So I wanted to make that determination. A magnet program, however, is not identified separately in the state student information system. A magnet program is a part of the regular public school and school district that is focused on specific learning tracks. So we have several magnet programs. Outdoor Discovery Program is a magnet program within Talent Elementary School. We have our TLC classrooms and program in all of our school sites. We have our two-way bilingual immersion programs at Phoenix Elementary School and Talent Elementary School. Our career technical education or CTE programs are magnet programs at the high school. All of those students are still considered parts of the high school, and our Phoenix Talent Transition Program. Even though it's in its own little space and house, we're very appreciative of that and special education there. It is part of Phoenix High School. So it's a magnet program still. All right. And then just to reiterate, Oregon is a state that it's compulsory education, meaning by law, all parents need to send their kids to school. But we do have the choice of traditional public school, the magnet programs, the charter school, private school, or homeschool. And those are our schooling options. And I can answer any questions if people have about the terminology too, before passing it along to Kelly. Yeah, Erin. Oh,
Okay. Oh, good. So my question is about Willow Wind, because in a conversation with the principal earlier this year, I just found out that they are considered an alternative program, and I wasn't aware of that. So do you know what that relationship looks like with Ashland School District? If Compass is considered a part of Phoenix High School, is Willow Wind then considered a part of one of the elementary schools or the middle school, since they're K-8?
that's a good question, because you could have an alternative school. Like I said, Ursio and Eagle Point. I think Medford's is their Innovation Academy is an alternative school. So Willow Wind could be an alternative school as part of the school district, still a public school. But I'm not aware. That's a good question.
And in that model, then the district is still responsible for providing SPED services or speech or specialist services, or serving kids on an IEP.
Correct. There's still a public school.
Okay.
So, non-discrimination, anybody who lives in the district boundaries is entitled to public school. And so that could be one of their schooling options they provide.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if it's a separate school or a program within another school.
Okay. Thank you.
Did you have a question or?
I guess I'm wondering what the difference is between is there a magnet school versus a magnet program? Is there any distinction there? Because I know that ODP kids are also Talent Elementary kids, part of Helen Elementary, but, and just to clarify, a charter school actually has its own administration.
Correct. A charter school, it's its own entity with its own school board. They still do respond to our school board because they're under an agreement or a charter
Right.
with our school board, but they have their own administration. correct?
And is that charter always the same in terms of the breakdown of money? Because doesn't
That's a good question.
money flows to the charter school from the state, but the district retains a certain portion to provide those services that you're talking about? Is that true?
So that's a very good question. So money to a charter actually runs through the school district first. And the agreement of how much money the district retains is part of that charter or the agreement or that contract. So that is presented when the charter is approved. There is a minimum amount that needs to go that stays with the school district for things like that financial administration piece, but funds first go through the school district that then divvies out those funds as part of that agreement.
Thank you, Tiffany. And now Kelly, you want to hear a little bit about preschool?
Thank you. Hi, I'm Kelly Soder. I'm Director of Equity and Community Care, and I'm going to be supporting our preschool expansion as well. Good evening, board. Thank you for having me. I'm going to share some statistics and information, and then certainly have an opportunity to answer any questions at the end too. And we will have some numbers here so we can refer back to them later. I'll first share a little bit about just the statistics of access to care in Jackson County, and then get a little bit more specific to our Phoenix Talent area. Childcare is really in a crisis across the state. Oregon is not unique to that. It is a situation that many states face. More than half of the counties in Oregon are considered childcare deserts. That might be a term you've heard before. A childcare desert basically means that there are less than 33% of children having access to any spot, regardless of affordability, cost, or type of care. Any less than 33% access overall. Unfortunately, Jackson County is one of those counties. We are considered a child care desert. And that also is compounded by a high cost of living and a lack of affordable housing in our area. That's sort of a trifecta for families in our area. In general, in Southern Oregon, Jackson County, 53% of families with children under 6 live in poverty at the federal poverty level. Our access in Jackson County specifically, we sort of break that down. There's sort of a 0 to 5. Sometimes we look at 0 to 3. Infant care is an even greater crisis than 3 to 5. If you have suffered that as well, we know it's very hard to find infant care. And then 3 to 5 care. So our access rate for publicly funded preschool, so in any sort of subsidized care in Jackson County, is 27% access compared to the number of children looking for care. And then any access, regardless of cost, is only 32%. So in general, basically, we have more kiddos looking for care than we have spots, regardless of affordability. So basically, it translates to nearly 70% of our incoming kinders coming in for their first year of kinder without access to formal, high-quality care. That's based on licensed care, where there could be an in-home licensed provider, a family provider can be a licensed provider, and then a center or any other sort of facility. That doesn't attribute for informal care. We know that many of our youth, 0 to 5, are what we call friends, family, neighbor. They're being cared for in informal settings, which can be certainly high quality care, but it's not necessarily a structured educational early childhood experience. Let's see. Next, I'll talk about just our high cost of care in general. We have a higher cost of care area, along with our high cost of living and other challenges in our area. The average cost of infant care in Jackson County is over $1,000 a month, $1,135, and the average care for a 4-year-old, just as an average, is $838. That's for regular care. That does not include any before care or after care. And we know that many working professionals or working people do in fact need before and after care in order to make a job work. That costs vary, huge variety on the type of care. An in-home provider might have a different cost than a center-based care. Length, duration, 5-day a week, 4-day a week, all of those things contribute to varied cost. There are different ways that people can pay for child care, including daycare, preschool, obviously private pay. private pay with some sort of a tuition, scholarship, or sliding scale. And then there are really three large kind of publicly funded options for families that qualify. Oregon Pre-K, which is basically early Head Start and Head Start, is a publicly funded income qualifying program, and then Preschool Promise. Both of those have been game changers in the state of Oregon for providing access to families that can't afford the private pay. Both of those are fully subsidized, so free care basically. Income qualifying, and then there are special circumstances: children in foster care, children experiencing homelessness, families that are receiving temporary assistance for needy families called TANF. And then the last option for subsidy care is called employee-related daycare. It means that in order to go to work and contribute to the workforce, you need care for your child. In those circumstances, if you meet those qualifications, the income levels are a little more flexible for families, obviously, to be able to work and receive benefits. That serves as a partially funded or partially subsidized care, depending on the family circumstance, but depending on their income. Basically, it's a copay for the family, and then the remainder is paid by the state to the provider. Those are really the only options for funding sources for our families. So then I'll talk a little bit about our slots here in Phoenix Talent. In Phoenix, we actually found that there's more access with more informal, more in-home providers in Phoenix. In general, not including cost, there's about 60% access for children 0 to 5 in the Phoenix area. There's about 60% access. However, when we look at that compared to income qualifying, 89% of our families with children 0 to 5 in Phoenix need subsidized care. So there's care, but there's not enough subsidized care, right? The subsidized care is about 25% access. In Talent, we have a different circumstance. There's about 46 spots per se in Phoenix, which is only 12% access for children 0 to 5. And then subsidized care was at 11%. So low access in Talent regardless of cost, and then low access for affordability with subsidized care. All right. About 49% of families in the Talent area need subsidized care. So a smaller percentage need subsidized care, but we also have a pretty low access in general. Let's see. I think the last thing I would share is just that obviously there are requirements for early learning. Licensing and the Department of Early Learning have really strict guidelines on requirements for early learning. So when we look through appropriate spaces for childcare licensing, obviously a location that has been a childcare facility or has been licensed before is ideal. If it's been licensed by one provider, it's much easier to be licensed by a different provider. There's a space per square foot per youth or per child. There's indoor and outdoor requirements. There's play structure requirements, food service, nap, kind of a variety of things. So looking at the space, not any space per se will work for early learning. So that's a consideration when we're looking at expansion. It's sort of a perfect opportunity for us in our expansion. Family Nurturing Center was departing their location and consolidating to a main campus. We heard early in the year from the Ivy School around the challenges with operating a single classroom or a satellite classroom in a location farther away from their main campus. Earlier in the fall, they shared that that's a challenge. Obviously, they have supervision needs of staff, they have support needs of staff, they have services to youth, and they have itinerant staff traveling to all the different satellite programs to provide those services. So they shared early on that was a challenge for them. Family Nurturing Center shared the same, and they're consolidating to main campuses to provide a higher level of care. And it gave us an opportunity to expand into the Family Nurturing Center space in Phoenix and to consider expansion in Talent, both to try to meet those needs of access that we see in our community. Last but not least, I think we all know that the 0 to 5 age range is the critical brain development and the most crucial time to develop opportunities, language, literacy, social, emotional, which has enormous pay forward. for our youth as they enter kinder and less likely to be behind their peers, their same age peers that have different experiences in that 0 to 5 range. Happy to take any questions.
I'd like to just to make sure we have enough time for speakers. Does anyone on the board have questions for Brent or Tiffany or for Kelly? Go ahead. Might benefit all of us too.
My question is, with the Ivy School leaving and then the YMCA coming in, what is the additional spots available? Because Talent had so little spots, so how many additional spots would YMCA be adding? I'm gonna make you do math, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. We're working really hard to be sure in place the families that would have returned for year 2 of Ivy School. There are 10 of them. So we intend to make sure we have those 10 students taken care of. And then anticipating the same space youth ratio, we anticipate the YMCA will be able to take another 10 in that same location, which would be basically a wash in that location. We wouldn't necessarily lose spots, but we won't gain either at this juncture.
The Y, oh, I just. The Y offers a different structure for pay than Ivy School as far as income requirements. Is that, can you explain?
The Ivy School was operating a preschool promise program, which was 20 fully subsidized spots for families that qualify. Those 20 spots are assigned to the Ivy School. They don't transfer to the YMCA per se. The YMCA will offer a program where a family could qualify under employee-related daycare, which is one of those options for subsidized care. It's unique to the family. And then they offer a scholarship program. Any family that is on Oregon Health Plan automatically has a 50% discount on tuition, and then they are eligible to apply for scholarship. YMCA has the benefit in our community of having a pretty generous campaign for scholarship funding, and families, it's a quite easy process for families to apply through scholarship, but it is 2 different funding sources. They also will offer full day preschool before and after care.
And they do have asked about, potential expansion if they get above their 20 spots. And so that's a discussion that we'll have to, speak to with where that would be as well. So that's a good question. And that the after school care is a really important part of the preschool care.
Thanks for all the information. Definitely not gonna argue with you about preschool needs. Been there, done that. I guess my question to you is, with these preschools, whether it's the Ivy League or the YMCA coming in, are those strictly reserved for Phoenix Talent School District residents, or is it county? I guess I'm just asking because
Yeah.
the Phoenix Talent School District owned
Yeah.
property for residents district. So just wanted to see what that was.
Great question. When we have preschool promise space, and the Phoenix location will have preschool promise and other availability. Preschool promise runs through the county through Southern Oregon Early Learning Hub, which is regional. They do placement in a lottery system. The #1 placing factor, though, is geographic request of the family. So in that sense, most programs are served by youth and families that live near that program for ease. There are some situations where the employment of the parent drives their location request. But more often than not, they would like to be served in their neighborhood school zone area. The more the more families that we have that apply for preschool promise in our attendance area, the higher likelihood we have that fills 100% with our students that reside in our district boundaries.
What about the YMCA, Kelly? Do we have the ability to set terms with them on that we want to prioritize families who live in Talent?
Yes, they're extremely flexible and easy to help us prioritize with that. So in fact, we'll have regular communication with them as they're doing family outreach. Yeah.
I just had a question for you with the statistics that you were giving, and especially after Tiffany kind of breaking down. For the numbers that you were giving, is there a differentiation between the care, like for 0 to 3 and preschool?
Mhm.
3 to 5? Or is that just kind of like when you're talking about your percentages, for the like 49%? Is that for the total 0 to 5?
Those are 0 to 5 numbers. Mhm.
Thank you, Tiffany and Kelly. Appreciate the questions, good questions. With that, the next step, I think is to really reestablish clear and consistent communication, not only with staff and families and district office, but also board. That includes the board as well. Reviewing safety and security measures and procedures that we've already kind of talked about, and working collaboratively together to move forward through this process. There's been no doubt that we all learned a lot. And I know there's an understanding and a hope that we can continue to communicate and open the lines of communication to make sure we can move forward in a positive way. And I'm confident of that.
Any final questions for Brent on board? Brent, I just had, the Ivy School pulling out, seemed kind of sudden. Have you been in touch with the folks that run that, and where are we at with those people?
Yeah, we've talked to, well, Kelly and I have talked to Sunny Spicer, who runs that several times in the last few weeks. And like Kelly said, that having a satellite school, they were looking at trying to expand. We were trying to make that happen. And then they had a timing on when they can get funders. And in being in the second, I'm learning a lot about preschool too, and being in the second year of a biennium, people use up their funding earlier and they don't have as much funding necessarily in that second year of the biennium. So it's not super unusual to consolidate just because of that that factor. So but we're hopeful. We've talked to Ivy School and Sunny about potential partnerships in the future. So.
And then you mentioned there'll be 20 spots, and I'm just curious what thoughts you have about next year and space, and if you can offer any more details on if I'm ODP parents, I'm probably wondering, what
Yeah.
next year looks like.
Absolutely. And I mean, that'll be a whole discussion. I think we're in a prime position to actually kind of apply for some of our own preschool promise spots. So we'll have to look to see where that is distributed around the district. But I think our hope with our providers, partners that provide preschool and our district, I think the hope would be to find as much space to provide preschool. So and we've already talked about potential ways to, even if they expand this year, what that could look like.
As far as space on the TES campus. Okay, got it. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move to public comment. So I only have two. If more people wish to speak, that's totally fine. Just come up and state your name, and we'll allow 50 minutes, which means we won't get to talk that much at the end, but that's okay, I'm sure, for everybody. So first is Aaron Mahaney.
Obviously, this whole situation, and I'm still involved and connected to ODP. And I have 3 points that are things that I just have really felt that I wanted to say to the board and to Brent and just have people here. And they're not necessarily connected. And the first is, thank you for that, the report. And I understand and I absolutely support the need for both preschool and daycare in our community. but I would ask you to please be intentional about your use of the term preschool versus the term daycare. Just as an early childhood educator, if you would, I hear these being used interchangeably and they're not the same. Although obviously there are preschools that have an aftercare component, there's no such thing as a developmentally appropriate full day preschool program for 3 and 4-year-olds. That's not a thing. So, preschool is, I feel like we need to honor the skills of licensed, highly trained early childhood educators, which is different than providing daycare. And the Ivy School is a beautiful Reggio Emilio inspired, high quality, intentionally designed preschool program. The YMCA I know has a preschool component that I'm sure is also very good, but then it has aftercare. It's not, strictly speaking, just a preschool. So I just would ask you to really be conscious of the difference in those two things. And even though sometimes they go together, they are two separate things, two separate needs in the community. My second point is that I feel like in the whole discussion about moving, I had a conversation with a woman who volunteers at Talon Elementary. Her grandchildren go to school here. And she taught in the Medford School District, and she didn't understand, well, classrooms move all the time. What is it? What's the big deal about that? And so I just want to again say, this program was created as a culture. And the culture has evolved to be supported by the space that it's in. And when you are doing place-based learning, the place is important. And moving the program out of the building, it needs to be really, really, we need to be, if we intend to support the program and to continue having the program, we need to be intentional about preserving the culture of the program and what those needs are. Because project-based learning takes uninterrupted blocks of time. It's very different from this bell schedule of a school with traditional classrooms. I felt last year that it was becoming very difficult to teach in a project-based modality with the pressures of the bell schedule from across the street. And a lot of times things happen across the street quickly. They're not planned weeks and weeks in advance. Oh, we changed the schedule. We need you over here right now. Whereas when you're doing project-based learning, often you've scheduled guest speakers and you've scheduled parent volunteers to come in, and you've scheduled events that can't necessarily be easily postponed. And so those two things there's been a push and pull there that's been really frustrating as a teacher, to try and manage a project-based program and feel the pressure to participate in all the other Talent Elementary events. And sometimes it means drop everything and come right now, which is really difficult. So that was my second point, about the culture and about the time, the difference in the needs of time, how time is allocated in the day. My third point, I'm forgetting because I kind of went on, but I feel like that building is a real asset to the district, and it's the vision of having it as an early childhood learning center in the middle of Talent, where you can walk to things, where you can walk across the street to Talent Elementary. That could be really special. It could be really something unique to Talent, but it needs to be something that's done with intention and taking the time to do it correctly. And at the same time, taking the time to place ODP correctly. I remember my third point. Was that, and I've talked to a couple of other teachers that have been around a long time. And what we have been talking about is that this district has a pattern. New administrators come in, they have an interest, they want to start a program. They recruit teachers who then pour their heart and soul into creating a program, making it the very best that it can be. Often it ends up being very successful. And it's important to families who make plans based on the existence of that program in the district where they plan to send their kids to school. And then when there's a change in administration, often the new administration has different priorities, different interests, and that program ends up going by the wayside to make room for the new next shiny thing. And I could cite several examples that have happened over the last decade or so of programs that really were very successful, very well planned, and I think really filling a need in the district that just went away when administration changed. And I think that that's one way that we could really improve is by being cognizant that this is happening and doing a better job of planning and supporting programs that are existing so that they're there for families and families have some continuity. Because I almost experienced it with the art program when we sent our daughter to Phoenix High School because she was a violin player. There is no orchestra. We looked around for what could be her thing, and we settled on the art program because it's a very specialized, unique program to Phoenix High School. And then sure enough, there was a new principal in his second year. He decided art program needs to go. And we were in a complete panic because, we had made that decision to send our daughter to that school based on the existence of that program. And it doesn't serve, as many kids as maybe a sport, but it serves the kids. It's very important to the kids that it does serve. So I think that we really need to think about that when we look at changes in programs and to, honoring the commitment that we have to families who come in expecting a certain program to look a certain way. So there you go. Those are my those are my 3 points that have kind of occurred to me while I've been following this whole unwrapping the events.
Thank you, Erin. Any questions for Erin? Okay, thank you. Okay. Vanessa, are you Vanessa? Okay. Okay, come on up. You may not be last now, but you're the last card that I have. So, okay.
Of ODP parents.
I think we'll have time. Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for giving us your time today. The painful events of last month have alerted us to the need to offer understanding with leadership of what the Outdoor Discovery Program is and the value it has to our children and the future students in this community. We realize the board did not make this decision, and we don't assume an intention of ill will on behalf of those who did, but rather a lack of understanding of what this program is and a lack of awareness of how important it is to ODP families. Our intention with this message is threefold: to engage you in knowledge sharing and justification of the Outdoor Discovery Program, to take the first steps towards restoring our relationship with decision makers, starting by sharing our experiences recently, and to express a spirit of collaboration with the school district. There are a lot of reasons that families choose to be part of ODP. Sometimes the children have developmental and behavioral needs that are far more suited for this more active program. Sometimes it's the family's values that create this desire. The Outdoor Discovery Program has been flourishing since 2008. Our program success has been well documented in all available measures: academic, graduation rates, student parent reports, family involvement, etc. And there's a consistently long waiting list of students eager to join the program. We receive frequent requests from existing and potential students and the general public for the Outdoor Discovery Program to be expanded. Additionally, ODP is a draw for out-of-district families who otherwise would not attend the school district. At its core, ODP is a place-based and project-based educational program. Through field trips, parent-led electives, multi-age classrooms, project-based learning, as Erin said, and the vital family participation, we are a thriving and beloved program. Our little 2-room schoolhouse is the center of a micro-community of sorts, and our programmatic work and curriculum is so largely family-centered. We pull up yelling hi through the car windows and exchanging quick information, cracking jokes. We get out and catch up with each other and our kids right there at the playground and their teachers. While they have time to play with each other, to run up in little groups, begging parents for play dates, to all pile into each other's cars and get shuttled back home for dinner. We are a huge, wild, and happy extended family. Our program is successful and the kids are thriving. We understand how lucky we are. We won a literal lottery to be part of this magnet program. We've been pushing for a long time for ODP expansion. Just because our current model is based largely around our physical design doesn't mean that with great collaborative planning, some of this couldn't be replicated in other sites. The kids at the main TES campus could have these feelings of community and wraparound support too, and I think they do. We'd like to now address the harm that was done over the events of April and May so that our voices are heard and we can hopefully avoid a similar event going forward. As we stated, we understand that the school board was not involved in the beginning of this process. And at the same time, we've been informed that the board is directly responsible for, and this is a quote, hiring and evaluating the superintendent, set policy and the strategic vision for the school district, advocate for public education in the district locally, regionally, and nationally, allocate resources and levy taxes, and occasionally serve in a quasi-judicial function to resolve complaints and disciplinary matters that may come before us. The past several weeks were extremely painful, exhausting, and near panic-inducing for many ODP families. After being told that our home was being taken away in a matter of weeks, with no discussion, and that decision being final, there was very real heartbreak. Parents and teachers cried. There was bewilderment. There was incredible stress. Multiple parents already filled out interdistrict transfer requests, and at least one parent already met with realtors and visited homes looking for a place where her children could access alternative education programs. So we may be using that term incorrectly. Parents were in absolute shock and began frantically trying to find solutions. Our lives were put on hold to the detriment of our work lives, our time with our children, and our mental well-being. Many of us had very little sleep. For a time, there wasn't a 48-hour break between meetings and strategy sessions among parents. There were 100 emails and 1,000 texts to dig ourselves out of. It was very overwhelming. By any measure, this process was needlessly harmful, rushed, and ultimately unsuccessful. Our trust was broken. We remain wary of the future of the program. This school is so much more than a building or a program. It's a home and a family. This whole community went through the fire so recently. To decide to suddenly displace our children again and without our permission or even our understanding demonstrated a lack of consideration for the trauma this community was already going through. However, even through this experience, we extend our belief that this relationship can be repaired. We would like to move forward with respect for all and hope for positive, fruitful relationship and collaboration with decision makers. We are TES. We have great respect for the larger elementary school. At least one of our families has a child in each setting because they see the value in both. My own experience with my daughter on the main campus was absolutely wonderful. We never want the families or the children to develop an us and them mentality. We've learned recently that there is some work to do on both campuses in this regard. And now that we've been made aware, we are very motivated to cultivate a feeling of connectedness or increase an existing feeling of familial connectedness among the children in both settings. We are deeply connected. We are a deeply connected group of parents who are very active in this program. Not only are we dedicated to the well-being and positive educational experiences of our own children, but all children in this community, demonstrated by the outsized presence of teachers and school district employees who make up our parent group. We have many parents who are active in the TES PTA and make strong contributions to school activities and raise funds through student involvement. In the spirit of shared goals and collaboration, we ask that leadership lean on us when there is a need for community support, either through fundraising, a community awareness campaign, or when a project could benefit from brainstorming with additional dedicated bright minds, including the Culver Road project and beyond. But our most crucial request is that the district include us in any decision-making that affects ODP. We do not want to be experienced as a group that takes more than is given, but rather really want to emphasize our hand is out where it is needed. We've built something beautiful and we would love to talk about ways to share it, to expand it, to let all kids have some of the same experiences. We can be allies and we want the best for all kids in our community. We've been through a lot and now we need to rest and recuperate for a little while. And then we want to work with you to secure our future and our children's future. We're not sure yet what exactly that looks like, but we will be coming with ideas. We would like to request another meeting with both the school board and administration in the fall to circle back and continue discussing the future of ODP. But today we want to listen to you. We would like more information on how this decision came about, how it was made final, and why it was so suddenly reversed. That, Bren, I know you went into some of that already at the beginning of this meeting. We've been told that we can stay in our schoolhouse for the 24-25 school year, but we'd like to know what plans are there for ODP in our building when that school year ends. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to speak? I don't have any more cards, but if you'd like to speak before the board, you're welcome to come up. Grab the mic. Hi. Hi. Please state your name. Thank you.
Is it on? Marcy Locke, mother to Lily Locke at ODP. A bit ago, I wrote down just a few things. I never got to go over them. Lily's going to be in 2nd grade this year, and she's super happy, strong, thriving girl. And it's due a lot to the teachers, Teacher Aaron, Teacher Spencer, Teacher Jess, Melody, Teacher Melody. She's new and she's awesome. Okay. Okay. So if we look around the room, you guys are going to notice that ODP parents, we're not young parents. We're not kids. We're older people. You know, we've seen a lot, from what goes on in the world to just everything going on around us. We just want better for the kids. All these, we want them to be outdoors more. We want them to, not that school, public school is a bad thing, because public school saved me. My principal, my 5th grade teacher were the ones that saved me. It was my safe place. So I have much respect for schools, okay? You guys are where we run away to, okay, when things aren't going right. I'm lucky enough, I made it out of it. I survived, I thrived. I went on, to be able to be this old lady who's got a 6-year-old child. It's a blessing. So this group of folks are very bright people. When we see something is not right, something's not right, we're going to ask the questions. And basically, there are members of your community right here behind me. These are the people right here that I saw that were helping everybody else over the fires. These are the folks that do the meal trains when some of the kids' parents have had tragic accidents. We've all pulled together. So it means a lot to us that way. Okay, I love this community. I don't want to move. I want to stay here. I want to settle here. So basically, this place has been the most stable group program in this whole area, really, this whole county, probably. Who knows? Okay. Also lately, I've heard a little bit of talk about maybe some bullying going on. And that to me is not right, not cool. This is what we're teaching our kids not to be, not to bully one another. I had a daughter that had to be moved out of Talent Middle School from being bullied. So to hear that there may be some folks in the school working over here on this side, bullying some folks on our side, it's wrong. And I just have to bring it up. And I hope it ends. And I really just want to be somewhere where that is not messed with, where the community, where we are pretty much left alone, honestly. If there is an option, I hear there may be an option to go back to a previous superintendent who knows the program well, who will support us and fight for us. If that's an option, then I feel like that may be something we would want to talk about after we gather in the fall, like the ladies want. Okay? And really, that's all I have to say today. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? Okay. I'd like to give an opportunity for the board to share any thoughts on your mind, what you heard today. We have plenty of time.
I just want to thank you guys for all coming out and speaking with us again and just continuing to work with us. I really appreciate you all taking the time. You guys are amazing.
I want to echo what Rebecca said. I'm that old lady who used to have children at ODP as well. And I spoke with the one that was there this last weekend and how much that impacted her in her life. And I was really grateful for that, for her, for a multitude of reasons. One is she was challenged at different levels at when she was coming into there as different grade levels and not just being in a classroom where she was having to work in one space. I want to encourage you all in your powerful ways, because I know I was a member of the PAC committee and how powerful you are to come together and to collaborate and figure out what ODP looks like. And let's get moving in that direction. And let's look at our interactions with each other and not, when I hear on that side of the street or this side of the street, I want us to be all on the same side of the street. That's important for me as a person living in talent my whole life, that we don't have people against each other, or also we also look at someone else and see them and hear them and still love them, even if their opinion is not the same as our own. That to me is really important that comes out of this. And that I really want to encourage you. He said it many times, and he's been there for me many times when I've had to go down and talk to Brent about hard things, to talk to Brent on the phone, in person. I want to encourage you to do this because he hears what you're saying and he understands, and he also knows what's happening in the district. Many things that we don't see on the day-to-day basis. We're not privy to those things, which is fine, but reach out to him and tell him what your hopes and dreams about this are and share those with him. Because my dream is that ODP lives on Culver and it's a great building, and we can figure out all these kinks that we have to do in order to make that happen. And that's including fundraising for the building. So, and that's going to take a grassroots effort, which I know this group is capable of doing 100%. So I think that's all I have to say, but I love this program. It served my family well in a time when it was a difficult period in our lives. And I really am grateful for the passion and the feelings that have come of this. And I know it's been hard, and it's been hard on me personally too, because it's hard. I feel like I'm in the middle. I don't want to be in the middle. I want us all to be on the same side of the street. So thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, I have a lot to say. Is that a shocker? Some of my notes are on my phone because I'm out doing chores and I think of things that pop in my head and I know I'm going to have my phone wherever. So if I go back and forth, it's not because I'm looking at my text messages, because that's how I organize. Um, so first of all, I want to thank you all for being here, and I want to thank you all for wanting to move forward and the comments of working with us and not having the them, us. I think that that's awesome. And I think that's awesome that you guys want to have another meeting in the fall. I, on my notes, would like to see, this is a suggestion, and of course, we, since I've been on the board, there's been a ODP, I forgot what they're called, program reports, and they haven't been, I feel like we need more of a connection. We're missing that connection. We have a connection. We have JAB once a year, which is joint administrative and board, and each school comes and talks about their challenges and their goals for their school. I think that's something that maybe we could look at doing. It would benefit us to know what your guys' challenges or goals are. And also, it would help you also understanding what our challenges and goals are as well. I think that that would be something that would benefit everybody. I think if we could have, you know, maybe a few meetings a year instead of just once a year, that's something that I would put. I mean, obviously that's a board discussion and a district discussion, but that's something that I had on my notes. Just and just how do we, and also another like out there for another day discussion is, how do we make clear when someone is frustrated, the clear path of we don't want the frustration to build. So I'm glad you're all here, and I think that's one of my goals, and I think looking at everybody, that's their goal, is to make sure that frustration doesn't build and cause more problems. I also have some not really concerns, but I think this program is great. It's been going on for a long time. And I've been on the board for 11 years, and most of the people on the board are new. So we've changed. The district, I feel like, has changed in the last 4 or 5 years as a whole. That's just my personal experience. And I'm not sure if we've communicated that change with you guys. What our equity policies are, what our new visions are, and all of that. So that's something I think is important as well, to make sure that we're on the next steps. And I know that these types of schools, these hand-on schools, there's been a lot more in the state. So my question would be at one point, what have you guys changed? If you looked at new things, just because I want to make sure that we're thinking about every opportunity for the kids. So those were some of my thoughts when I was out feeding animals in the middle of the pasture. Let me see. That's it. I think that's it. If I think of anything else, I will definitely. Oh, I did have clarification during public comment. This is for Brent or Tiffany. For ODP, is it just talent students that can go in, or Phoenix? Because there was a comment about it bringing families in from other districts, but I was told that Orchard Hill and Phoenix Elementary don't have the same option. So I just want to make sure that I'm sorry if I'm bringing up, I just want to be clear and make sure I'm understanding it correctly, because I may not be.
Just like the TDWI program here, it's the same process. So if a family from Orchard Hill, for example, wants to access our dual language program, they attend Kinder Roundup and they submit an interest form. And then through the lottery process, just like GWI, we place kids, and we always approve inter-district transfers. I mean, typically for TWI and ODP, we would honor talent first, then inter-district, and then out of district. So, yes.
Wanting to make sure that all the students in the district were getting a chance.
You don't have anything to share? It's okay if you don't. I was gathering some thoughts, but I'll try to do it off the cuff here. First of all, I just want to say, I'm one of those newcomers, and relatively speaking. I've been on the board for 4 years. I was appointed March 5th, and the schools shut down on March 13th. And so and then the fires happened in September. So I've spent a lot of time on fire recovery and just getting to know, getting acquainted with this lovely, lovely district. So 4 years feels like a short time, and it feels like a very long time. And so I've learned, honestly, and I was visiting the middle school a few weeks ago, and I stopped by ODP and I said, hey, I would like to come check you guys out and visit. And I can't remember who I spoke to who's there today. I don't know if she's here today, but oh, there she is. Okay. Very good. I still want to do that, by the way. So I just want to say, when I heard about the meeting and then I heard about how upset everyone was, and you all came and spoke before us at the last board meeting, I felt it. I felt it, and I put myself in your shoes, thinking about how destabilizing that would be for me, to get sudden news like that, and start questioning, what the future looks like, my kids and school. And so I just want to acknowledge that. That's not a goal that we have for anyone in our district to feel that way, especially with everything that we've been through. And I know some of you lost your homes, and the trauma and everything that comes with that. So just want to acknowledge that, feel that. I think there's clearly an opportunity to better communicate. I think there are some things with how this whole decision unfolded that are maybe not clear to everyone, that I've spent some time over the last couple of weeks learning about, when conversations started, who was a part of that, what and wasn't communicated with parents. I really don't want to get into all of it today. I do believe, as painful as this has been for everyone involved, I do believe that there's good that can come from this. I appreciate the conversation about collaboration. I see the incredible spirit and will that you all have. And I agree with you that not only can that be leveraged for the good of ODP, but it can be leveraged for the good of our entire community and our entire school district. So I thank you for that. I think it's a special thing. So I do hope, though, that conversations continue, that they continue in person or on the phone, not on social media in a toxic way, or through the press. We're one school district. We all live in this community and we all love this community. I think it's important that communication continues. I love the idea of a meeting in the fall. That's a great idea. We'll definitely accommodate that. I think one of the opportunities this whole situation has created is an opportunity to discuss the vision for the program going forward and how it aligns with our goal as a board and as a community to support all kids in the Phoenix Talent School District. So I thank you for coming tonight. I hope this was helpful. I hope that the conversation will continue. I know you're mad at him, but his door is open. Please talk to him, and let's continue to build those relationships and continue the conversation. we'll absolutely set something up in the fall. Okay. Thank you all. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we have more time.
Hi, I'm Aluna. Um, I just, um, I'm Aluna Huang. My son Leo goes to ODP, and I was just curious. Dawn, pardon me. I, um, I wanted to. You mentioned that you feel like the school board has changed over the past few years, and you were address or mentioning the school board's goals. And you know, having us be more acquainted with your goals and you be more acquainted with us. I'm curious, do you have anything in particular in mind? Because I would love to feel like we're all aligned and really unified as a district and a community for sure. And so if if there are specific things that you were talking about or you have in mind, I would love to know, like, are there ways that that we are uh, currently disparate and you would love to see us more unified? Yeah, that's my question.
I honestly don't know. That's part of the problem, right? I honestly don't know. I know that we've changed I think, priorities, our board priorities. When I first became on the board, they were more simplistic priorities, I think is a good word for them. And they've turned into more of I don't know how to say it, more meaningful. I feel like they're more meaningful and more vision. They were, for example, they were like, we were going to change all the light bulbs in the district was one of our priorities when I first became on the board, if I remember correctly. Now it's more of every, inclusive priorities and more meat and more, I feel like they just have more oomph to them besides we're going to change every light bulb, right? So that's what I kind of meant, is that we've kind of evolved, and I'm not sure that I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page and that we've come up with DEI policies. I'm not saying there's a lack, there's a lack, and I'm not saying that I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page so that we know you guys have offered to help and offered to be, want to do stuff, but let's make sure we're all on the same page of everything, and we're making sure that that what we're doing and we know what you're doing. Kind of, does that make sense? I don't know if I answered your question. Yes, there is. And I don't have it in front of me, but does someone have it in front of me?
Well, I can probably rattle off some things. So yeah, the district, we're in the midst of a strategic plan, and it's nothing that would shock anybody. So
Right.
the first thing is we have to address what I deem as a literacy crisis in our district, and the learning loss that's happened from the pandemic. So that's number one. We have to get our kids reading and doing math on grade level more quickly. And so, I think probably one of the reasons that Brent made the decision that he did is, as a board, we've been talking about how do we support our families and coming back to being able to move back to the community, and how do we address this literacy crisis that we have. And one of the ways we can do that is providing care for families, and preferably preschool, not just daycare. So that by the time kids come to us, they're more prepared to learn, and they're going to be more successful in reading and math more quickly with their peers. So that's another one. There's an attendance crisis. That's not unique to Phoenix Talent, but that's all of education in the country. If you read any articles, which I'm sure you all do, our kids aren't coming to school enough. And every day missed is an opportunity lost for learning. So we're trying to address that. And then we want to make sure that our freshmen are on track. So after freshman year that they're on track to graduate. And then we want to continue. We've done a good job in this district, but we want to continue graduating kids at a high rate. So that's another piece of our strategic plan. So and we've been very intentional about that. And so I think that's probably what Dawn's talking about, is just you all have a lot that you can support that with for your own kids, for ODP, but for the community at large. And so I really do look forward to having more collaborative conversations and talking in the fall about how we can all be in alignment for those goals, which I'm sure we all share. And I'm sure those are things that you want for your own kids, but we want for all of our kids in Phoenix Talent.
So you can go to the district website and search for a strategic plan, and that document will come up, and there's a whole section on under strategies for success. And one of those line items is maximize magnet programs. That seems really appropriate tonight. Extended learning opportunities. That's like ODP 101, right? So you could look at that document and see all those points. And Michael's pretty great. Like he listed most of them. I'm very proud of him. He did way better than I could probably do. So yeah, you can find that on the district website.
You speak, I just wanted to piggyback on that. And also the board priorities that I had referenced are also on the website. If you go under the board tab, there's information on there too as well.
But I helped start the ODP, and so and my kids went through the program. So one of the things that I remember long ago, when I was starting the program, was just this little antagonistic feeling about elitism and wanting this to not be seen as an elite program. And when you guys have very real concerns about literacy and attendance and daycare, it can make it seem really awkward for a bunch of parents to come in here and say, we want more recess and we want more field trips and we want more, like it. And I guess I want to align it exactly with what you said, that magnet school programs that meet the needs of certain types of students and families do meet those goals. And if we can all just dissipate that idea, this isn't about, I was certainly felt very privileged for my kids to be in that program, but it was because it was a good fit. And because I wanted to invest in it. Some people find their community in church, and some people find their community in family, and some people find their community in school. And these parents who found to be in school in many ways, and it doesn't make it bad or privileged or special. It's those are those families. Families have kids who hopefully will graduate and be invested in school and have had enjoyed and have a community experience in their school. And I hope that for all kids. My kids didn't continue to have that when we left the ODP program, and I realized how important it was. But I just want to address that because I feel like, as a parent who was involved in starting it, and I worked really closely with Teresa Sayer at that time, and I felt she was so visionary in so many ways in terms of, I mean, we would have these wild conversations you wouldn't imagine having with a school district administrator about every school in the district being a magnet, every school being themed, every student finding the right fit, like how, the dual language program is a very important privilege of the important and that the strength of the school district is in its diversity of offerings and not in its mainstreaming. And I think as a parent, and especially the parent whose kids went on to go to middle school and high school, the mainstreaming of education is the hardest thing for parents to keep our kids. And it's happening in every school where there's just so much streaming and so much standardized this and that, and it's like and that's being dictated tonight on that, but like the one that is real program. Still, and that it's trying to meet the needs of the program, and that for that educational reasons, and there's teaching electives understand that it's actually or families.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Josh Quarter. I just inspired by what Beach said to just echo one thing. 3 kids that are in ODP, and every morning when we wake them up, want to go to school. Like they might not want to wear that shirt, or, they might not actually want to get out of bed, but once they're up, they want to go to school. It's never a discussion about, do I want to go to school? And it's an amazing thing. And I would really, really hate to lose that. They're motivated to be good students for their entire life. Thank you to this program.
Hello, my name is Katie McCormick, and I've tried to stay kind of quiet because I also work for you all in the district. So I've tried to stay pretty neutral. But I also want to touch base on the equity and equality piece. I'm going to say over the last 4 years, I had an administrator who's no longer here tell me we need to get some more color into ODP. And I explained to this person that the reason how I got into ODP or my kids is we came to Talent Elementary during kinder launch. We learned about TWI. I was that like annoying parent that came and sat in on all the kindergarten classes to like make sure my kid would fit in the right, building. But it's a lottery. ODP parents are looked at these elitists who have so much more power than everyone else. But TWI is also a lottery system, yet there's no controversy over TWI. And it's a lottery. We accept people from everywhere. We have families coming in from Medford. We will happily take anyone who's interested in that kind of program for their kids. And I've been meaning to ask the board members, but we do community sing every Wednesday at like 8 o'clock. You all are more than welcome to come and join us. We would love to have you on field trips, just to kind of experience that ODP community, because I know last time we talked about you don't really understand until you're over there. And so we'd love for you to firsthand come and see what it's like. I'll email you all, and this year or next year, we'd love for you to have more one-on-one connection with the students, with the teachers, with the building, just to kind of have that connection that you can relate to it to speak about it.
Thank you, Katie. I saw the video of the community sing. I definitely want to come. All right. Yep. Go ahead.
Hi, my name's Mike. So Vanessa asked 3 very specific questions that haven't been addressed or answered at all. And I'd like that to happen. How the decision was made to move the school over here, why it was so quickly changed back, and Vanessa, what was the other one? Yep. Yeah, could you guys please address that?
Yeah, we can address that right now on why it was being moved. Okay. A lot of factors came into that decision, and I know it felt really rushed. And in hindsight, I think I've said this many times, I wish we would have, through the teachers and the staff here, contacted ODP in a much earlier manner. But there's a lot of different reasons why. I think there was, preschool was a part of it. We talked about safety and security a lot. That has come up a number of times this year and over the years. And also the timing of the seismic upgrades here at the Gallant Elementary. When we started looking at the options and really saw the need for preschool space, we looked at all of our options on campus and across the street in the ODP building based on what Kelly was saying about the criteria. And then we thought, what space could happen here on campus with the seismic? And we got excited about some of the possibilities. There's 2-room spaces that we did a walkthrough with staff, talked about logistics, really kind of started to design what it would look like. We know physical space and logistics are one thing. We also know the community feel that we've heard loud and clear over the last several weeks are another thing. So really understood that needed to be replicated in some manner as well. And started a document to kind of address some of those things. Timing was fairly urgent and still is, quite frankly. But I think with what we've learned with communication and over the last several weeks, I'm incredibly, I really admire the passion of the families that are here and the people that have spoke up, former students and things of that nature. You mentioned, Vanessa, that we can build off of that, and I think that's something that we can do. As far as why it was made so quickly, I think it does anything like that is a shock. And again, I think if we were to go take a few steps backwards, we would have done a much different process with that. And as far as the future of next year, there's no plans to move ODP anywhere else. If I think we've learned something loud and clear that those conversations will happen with everybody involved and a lot of the families that are involved too.
Can you address too the why change it back? What happened with the Ivy School that led to that?
Yeah, so when Ivy School was in, like Kelly was saying, that we were in talks with them for a while and trying to look to expand their space. And in communication, and again, I think there's a two-way communication always that can be improved. But they shared last week that they weren't able to continue here and really consolidating not only this school, but maybe some others as well to their main campus. And know that up and opened the space. And so YMCA was able to, move into that space and willing to do that.
Can I add one thing too?
Yes.
Our goal was always to add more care slots in the talent area. As you heard earlier, care access and talent is really low, 11-12%. So the goal was always to have IB School continue to serve spots and to add on top of that. One of the things that we also know, in addition to subsidized care, is that there are families that don't qualify for subsidized care and they can't afford full price care. So we're really always looking for ways to provide different types of care. So the goal is always to add access.
Thank you, Kelly, for that clarification. Okay, we are out of time. Yeah, go ahead. Wait.
Yeah, I think that would be a discussion that we all have. There's no intention for that right now. So like we said, we talked about other space. If that conversation ever starts to come up, you'll be the first to know. And then you guys.
Yeah, tell them first, then you can talk to us. Yeah. Thank you all so much. We have to get ready for a regular meeting. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you.